want to talk about what's in the news?
Yeah, go ahead. What do you got?
So talking about the written word and in Google, there is and I have it on our Facebook page, and I want to let me share my screen here. I think I'm over here.
I know where you're going, and I love it. I haven't seen it yet, but I'm almost positive I know where you're going here.
So this is a YouTube video.
Yeah.
All right. So what was occupying the news cycle, at least in the technology realm last week, was OpenAI, a maker of artificial intelligence, has released this new tool called ChatGPT, which basically allows you to enter in search queries on the internet in dialogue form. So you just ask it. I mean, you're typing, right? But you're asking it in a dialogue form what the question is, and the response is in dialogue form, contextually relevant, rather than just a list of websites that might contain the information you're looking for. And it's similar to the next article. If we talk about the next article that has my interest, when the first publication picks it up, you're not sure if it's real news yet. But then when the second or third publication that you trust starts picking it up, then you're like, oh, maybe this is something. And by the time I saw this video here, it was really compelling. It was like, holy cow, is this actually the end of Google as we know it? And this is this guy here.
Hey, so big news. OpenAI just launched ChatGPT, and if you haven't tried it already, you absolutely should. Go and sign up. It's absolutely free to use. But in this video, I'm going to show you how it's going to impact SEO, and I'm going to show you some real life examples of how ChatGPT compares to Google and why in many ways it's actually better than Google. And so I'm super excited to show you all kinds of awesome examples. And so if you're excited about this video, like it right now, and let's dive right in. Okay.
I'm not sure if we'll get flagged for copyright or whatever, but this is a really compelling video. This guy, Goach, is an SEO expert, and his job has been literally to exploit Google's algorithm so that the content you publish on your website can rank higher for searchers looking for content and looking for your services. And it's kind of funny that this is all coming together this year, but you just got to watch this video, and he kind of shows like the side-by-side comparison of this artificial intelligence, where you're just asking a normal question like anybody does in Google, and it just spits out a dialogue form response that you could just take the information and kind of like move on, I mean, I don't even. Do you remember the first time you typed in like an actual question in Google? Do you remember the time before, like you would? I don't even know if you do that or not. And I still to this day don't really always, but sometimes I do.
No.
Because you don't really need to type in a query in Google in the form of a question. All you need to do is put the hot keywords in, and the output is essentially the same thing, But this tool here will
many ways. So
let you
show you a variety of keywords just to get a really nice blend of different things. So we can really see how well this tool
and the search
works
engine just
against
spits out
Google.
an actual
and so
response.
Let's start with some information
and he
queries.
compares
So the
it to
first
what is
one
inflation on
is
Google,
something as simple
and
as
you can see
what
what
is
the typical
inflation.
Google
Okay, so
response is,
we type that into ChatGPT and
so did you follow that at all?
Oh yeah, I've been really into that story. We should mention that it's currently down, so you can't use it right now anyway.
Is it really?
Yeah.
I wonder why. I wonder if it's
just too much traffic.
Really?
Yeah. So if you go there and try to use it, it says it gives you a little example, and then you can put in your email address, and it says notify me when it's back up, type of thing.
If I Google OpenAI chat. Let me just show this again. Am I sharing? No. Yeah, I am sharing. Here we go. So OpenAI, ChatGPT. It's funny that Google ranks it so high. ChatGPT is at capacity right now. No, get notified when we're back. Write 10 so here's an example of what you can do with it. Write 10 jokes about the status of ChatGPT, and then it just spits out jokes. So anyways, I'm blathering on, but what do you think?
No, this is important because it's had a. I think it's going to be, well, I'm not making any sort of bold statement there, but it's going to be pretty significant as far as I think that combined with a lot of the AI images and the AI videos that are coming, it's going to be a big deal on both sides, both the positive and the negative of being able to alter videos and deep fake pictures, which obviously Photoshop's been around for a long time, but the ability for people to generate that content, if you will, quickly and seamlessly and through either voice command or through, um, the typing in of the exactly what you want and making it happen is a pretty big deal.
It,
In a way that relates back to our blogging and chat. You're getting into the idea of, you could have this stuff write your blogs for you, and you can
right.
all that sort of stuff. So it's connecting to the APIs and pulling that stuff in and automation. I mean, we're really just scratching the surface on that, and I don't think people really grasp how significant it's going to be over the next year or so.
So we have the Amazon smart speaker in every room in the house, with the exception of um, the downstairs bathroom, and I think my dad's suite. He doesn't, he's anti, so he doesn't have one. But we all have one in, so you can walk through our house and say, refer to the smart speaker by her name, and then just issue a command, turn something on, turn something off. When's this? When's that? And it's obvious that the limitation with that is it's not very dialogue based, and they do have a feature called conversation mode where she'll try to stay engaged with you. I tried it once and it was obviously not good enough. Somehow the speaker needs to be able to identify definitely the biomarker of who's talking, the system has a reference to who's talking, and then they have to develop a way that they understand who's talking in the context of what's talking, because the speaker always, it's just a dumb robot. Let's face it, And then when I saw this, I was just amazed. I'm like, how I mean, this OpenAI is a group. I don't even think it's a company. It's a open source artificial intelligence project, akin to like Wikipedia or something. And it's incredible, the videos that I saw on this. It's absolutely incredible. The real speech that you can input and the real speech that it outputs with contextual relevance. And the other thing it does is it remembers the context of what you've already talked about. So in multiple queries, you can say, what's the price of tea in China? And then, and then in the next comment, you can say, how does that compare to coffee? So you haven't had to restring your initial thought. It just brings in the context, and it responds contextually relevant, and it's just amazing. So the two things I'm shocked at: how does OpenAI come out with this first? At minimum, I'm surprised Google doesn't have a tab on the Google homepage where they call it the Google bot. Why how does Google not have this technology? What do you think?
I mean, I think they must. They've got to be developing it somewhere. I mean, they have their own voice stuff like Alexa. I mean, it's built into their phones and all that sort of stuff. But I think their focus has obviously been on cataloging and indexing the
And
initial,
advertising.
the whole web, and then learning how to serve up what it thinks are the best results. So, I mean, they always had that. If you're lucky, click this or whatever, and it would
Right.
take you
I've
to
never
the first
used that. Did
result.
you?
No, but it's I think they're obviously getting to that point, because I wish I remembered the numbers, but I was looking at something about how now it isn't even about people clicking on links. Most people, when they ask Google for something, they're reading it right off the Google page, or Google is taking that snippet and pulling it from the website and putting it there. So the website isn't even getting the traffic anymore.
Right.
So they're obviously moving in that direction. They just haven't been fast enough.
Yeah, like I said, I'm surprised if we just went to Google, how is there not a tab here for chat? Or when you hit enter, try chat,
Right.
it it just so I don't know. I mean, not that I don't want to I don't want how do I want to say this? You know, I don't want to see Google fail necessarily, but at the same time, this Chat GPT thing is like
Mhm.
this could be the next garage project that just disrupts and the incumbent. You know what I mean? Which
Sure.
technology kind of seems to have done over the years. Um, it's
Yeah, and to what extent do they either buy it, steal it, replicate it? I mean, Google's got the money; they could hire everybody away at 3 times the salary, and you know, take it and tie it up in courts for 2 decades. So obviously that's something that happens too. But yeah, we'll see what they come out with.
Yep. So what do you got today? What do you
You
got
still use
today?
Ask Jeeves, right? Isn't that your primary
Ask
one?
Jeeves.
Yeah, that's still your.
Ask Jeeves. Is that even a thing anymore? Ask
Yeah, I think
Jeeves.
so.
Okay, right. Ask Jeeves, they rebranded years ago to ask.com,
Oh yeah.
which, Yahoo and these guys, aren't they just using Google or Bing anyways?
Think they what?
Aren't they just using Google or Bing anyways?
I don't know. Yeah, Yahoo might. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Yahoo's got. I guess Yahoo owns Alta Vista, or
Alta Vista, that's another one.
yeah. I was just looking at that one up. Web search created in '95. That was a big joke on Parks and Rec. They always used Alta Vista, Vista.
So what's on the news that's getting your attention since last week? Anything?
Well, yesterday we got the news that SBF had been Sam Bankman-Fried had been
Oh, yeah.
detained by authorities, and he's now been arrested. So that story came out late yesterday. So that
Yeah,
was a
Google.
follow-up to last week. We started talking a little bit about his publicity tour that he was on, and how his attorney. It's like, why did his attorneys allow him to do that? But anyway, so he's now been detained, and conspiracy to defraud, wire fraud, securities fraud, money laundering. So we'll see how all that shakes out. But that was obviously the headliner yesterday and into today too. Um, so that's a big one. The other interesting kind of nerdy thing was, one of the things you hear about is just kind of a base measure in our business. It's called the 4% rule, and that was developed by a guy about 40 years ago, with the idea that if somebody retires with $1 million, they can safely pull off $40,000 a year with inflation for the rest of their life. They're trying to come up with a basic foundation number that people could work off of.
Mhm.
So usually that's kind of where you start, and then from there you can take into account people's their age, their health, their family history, their cash flow spending, what they want to do, all that kind of stuff. But so now Morningstar has taken that number, and over the years they come up with a new number at the end of the year. That's basically, if you retire at the end of this year, what is that new number? So that came out a couple days ago, and their new number is 3.8%. So if you retire with $1 million, you could pull out $38,000 a year, and let that run until your demise. So that's always kind of interesting. They put it out. I don't know if it really has any practical use, and then all the advisors post it and sort of share their opinions on it. But that's always kind of interesting when that comes out. So that was new this week as well.
Interesting. Interesting. So, anything else on the FTX guy?
Not really. I mean, that story came out late yesterday, as I said. I don't think there's. I don't know. We'll see. I mean, they're going to have the congressional hearings, and I think the way this relates back into my industry is there was a push, a year ago when crypto was doing well, to add it into 401ks, and a couple record keeping platforms did. including Fidelity, which is the largest record-keeping platform. And they put curbs in place where you can only put up to 5% of your account and that sort of stuff. But I think they put it in as kind of a marketing ploy. And then, now a year later, it's like, really, are we still doing this? Do we need to do that? If you're going to cap somebody at 5% of their account, maybe it's just better that they do it outside of the 401k world. Just kind of do it on their own rather than having it be part of their retirement. So now you've got the politicians have been involved, and Elizabeth Warren has called out Fidelity specifically for allowing crypto in the 401k. So we'll see how that plays out. It's been my preference, if people want to get involved in that, to do that on the outside and not necessarily make it part of their retirement money. I mean, they still can put it in an IRA. They can, they can buy it through traditional platforms. They don't necessarily need to go through a platform like FTX was or something like that. So, so that's how that all factors into what's going on.
Just to be clear, the cryptocurrency hasn't gone down to zero. It was just the company. It was the bank that was the exchange, right?
Yeah, just the exchange that had issues. So, and it's held up surprisingly well, in my opinion. Over the last month or so, Bitcoin's pretty much flat.
What are they? They're around 16, right? 16K.
Yeah.
Switching gears, there's one more thing that I think I want to be on the record for talking about on this day. What do you know about fusion?
So I did see the story this morning, that the headline, but I haven't gotten into it yet. So fill me in. Tell me all about it.
So this is another headline that when the first outlet picked it up and I saw it in my news feed, it was kind of an eye roll, because nuclear fusion has been an eye roll for the last 40, 50 years. And there's always the saying that it's 10 years or 30 years away, whatever the year,
Right.
it's always 30 years away. And the nuclear fusion is, sorry for the big IBM banner ad, but nuclear fusion is basically clean nuclear power. It's recreating the function of the sun. It's compressing, I think, helium and hydrogen to create. It's compressing one significantly to create another, and to produce, I think, heat. And according to the challenge, how it has always been, it takes a significant amount of power to put into the system to generate the fusion reaction, and the output has always been less than the input. And my first grader can tell you that if your equation is lopsided, then you're not. It's not worth the. What's the point? So it takes you more stuff to put in than it takes you to get out. Then what's the point of the exercise if you're trying to produce, some sort of meaningful output? And so they call that net gain. If the net gain is, if there is a net gain, then you've got a potentially successful machine that you put in your fuel, and then you're outputting more energy than you're putting in. Because don't forget, burning wood is energy. When you burn wood into a fire, and I won't get into it, but you're burning, you're getting a fire and you're getting energy out of that. You're putting something in, you're getting something out. And the holy grail of clean energy is putting in something clean and then getting energy out that's clean. So according to the headlines yesterday, and like I said, the first news article, the news outlet picked it up and said, finally, there's a breakthrough where a team of scientists has produced a nuclear fusion reaction that has created a net gain, more energy out than they put into it. And I won't focus too much on the fine print, but it's early days, but the headline at least is compelling. What do you think?
Yeah, that definitely is. And I got a follow-up quote here. This is Dr. Arthur Terrell, a plasma scientist whose book charts the effort of to achieve fusion power. He says, if this is confirmed, we're witnessing a moment of history.
Exactly.
Scientists have struggled to show the fusion can release more energy than it put in since the 50s. and the researchers at Lawrence Livermore seem to have finally and absolutely smashed this decades-old goal. So,
It's
yeah,
incredible.
pretty
That's a
strong
perfect.
language there. So do we know, so what sort of waste is produced by this? Is there anything, or what do you, or what
Well,
happens
well,
next?
yeah. I mean, the article and the science, at least on at summary levels, is pretty clear in that it's not. Um, how is fusion different than fission? So the
Mhm,
atom bombs and the nuclear power that we're creating now is called nuclear fission, and the fission creates radioactive waste
mhm,
that doesn't dissipate, but the fusion, this paragraph speaks to that. Fusion fuses two or more atoms together. Fission is the opposite, where it splits the atoms apart. Nuclear fission is the kind of energy that powers nuclear reactors. Like fusion, the heat created from splitting atoms is used to generate energy, usually in the form of boiling water and passing that steam through a turbine steam engine. Uh, Zero emission energy source. Wait, yeah, I guess they're not. Nuclear fusion does not carry the same safety risks, and the materials used to power it have a much shorter half life. So, yeah, it's just a matter of how radioactive, and the fusion process does not create the same radioactivity as the current fission technology. That quote that you read was I think sums it up perfectly. By the way.
Yeah, that's pretty strong language. It seems like they're sort of keeping some of the details close to the vest. Looks like there's going to be some announcements later. Might just be they're trying to digest and figure out what happened.
Yeah,
Because
I mean, was it? I mean, they've been everybody who has known about nuclear fusion has been waiting for this headline,
mm,
you know,
yeah,
and I think everybody's probably you want to be excited about it, but at the same time, did those reporting on it, did they repeat the process? Did they measure?
right.
Did they confirm the process? I think it hasn't been independently verified.
Mhm.
So it's all of these, like, is this the what scientific discovery, is this the telephone moment, or is this the girl who just got prosecuted for the blood
Right.
um,
Yeah, Thanos or yeah,
Theranos. Yeah. So is
Theranos.
this a Theranos moment, or is this a Graham Bell moment? Um, Everybody wants it to be that one moment where you're like, this is the week that we learned that net gain energy could happen from nuclear fusion.
Mhm.
Um, so it's exciting.
It is. It's very exciting, and this feels like it could be one of those technology leapfrogs, so to speak. I mean,
Exactly. Yeah.
um, you know, it's you've got solar, becoming more prominent and all that kind of stuff. And is this something that sort of leapfrogs that, and everybody just says, well, to heck with it. Maybe if we just go full steam into this, um, and
I think
it
they're
is
going to coexist, though, and there's going to be different applications, because grid scale power, I think, home power is going to be really compelling because it helps you decentralize from the grid, so you have your own solar and batteries at your house. You become resilient to, the power, somebody crashing into a telephone pole on the corner of your street, or some terrorist attack or whatever, or geopolitical conflict. Look at what's happening in Ukraine. Power infrastructure is being attacked.
right.
So I think solar and battery is going to be always is going to happen and continue to happen. But this, nuclear fusion could definitely be used for industry.
Hmm.
The steel industry is hugely energy intensive, and the steel industry contributes to a significant carbon footprint. So
Hmm.
this kind of power can be the next power source to fuel industry, but not to get real too pie in the sky. But if they once they build this thing, then they're going to spend the next 100 years shrinking it down, right? How small can we
Yeah.
get this,
Right.
right? And then what if you literally put this thing on an airplane or a spaceship? You know what I mean? And then
Yeah.
now you have a power, you have this like high yielding power source that allows you to create modes of transportation that literally are science fiction right now.
Yeah. Yeah. It's pretty wild to think about it. Um, and it's interesting when a country develops something that like this. Is this something they well, very much like the Google conversation and stuff. How did what happens when somebody comes up with something so good? Do they immediately share this with all of mankind, or does somebody say, "Hey, look what the U.S. has got," and how long does it take other countries to sort of replicate this? Do we decide to share it or not? Um,
Well, we'll always don't. It's funny. This is where you and I are always, I think, on two different sides of the fence. Um, you know, the technology leader builds technology to to sell the benefit of the capital gained from the technology. You know what I mean? When the shovel was invented, it allowed hole diggers to dig more holes with less effort, so they were more profitable, and it built an economy. I mean, that's what
Mhm.
technology does. It builds economies. And um the country that is the technology leader then typically, once the microeconomy or the initial economy benefits from it, they start exporting the technology and the economy from that. So clean and abundant energy for all won't be free on the first day, because there's obviously an economic market to it. But
Right.
what happens is when these technology advances are sold and enter and create a market for long enough. Look at the transistor. I mean,
Mhm.
the first transistor that was invented, in the 40s, I think, was thousands and thousands and thousands. Now we all have billions of them in our pockets.
Right.
My children own billions of transistors all to themselves, so they're
Mhm.
effectively free, you know so and I always talk about this with transportation. When the robo taxi comes out, the the when you buy an Uber, 80 or 90% of that fare is to pay the human to drive you, to do the driving. When you take the human out of it, the human labor cost out of it, the price to transport somebody per mile is going to plummet, and transportation will be effectively free. Not free, but effectively free. You know what I mean?
Mm.
So, um, and then people will soon forget, but the quality of life will just raise exponentially again. I mean, there were times, 100 years ago and beyond, like people wouldn't leave their little village that they were born. People would be born and die in a village, and they've never gone more than 10 miles in their life. You know what I mean?
Right.
And
Sure.
now the poor and destitute can get on a train and transport themselves across entire states. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, not to get all philosophical or ideological about it, but um,
Right. Yeah. And yeah, my question was just on if if somebody truly develops something that is so life changing and world changing, do they want to share that with humanity or not? How quickly does it get shared? And it'll be leaked and
yeah,
copied and all that sort of stuff.
they'll
So
share it for exchange of green dollars.
yeah, unless it's yeah, we came up with the COVID vaccine and we click quickly. I mean, that was obviously they profited off that, but
That was
we didn't just keep it inside our borders and say, tell the rest of the world to go pound salt or, polio vaccine or whatever. I mean, the guy just gave it away. So we'll see. We'll see how quickly this spreads and if it's real, if it's if they're able to replicate the study. And this one broke a bunch of their gauges and stuff too, so they got the output, which was far more than they expected. So it'll be fun. Yeah, it'll be interesting to watch this.
very exciting, very very exciting.